Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of our Webinar Wednesday series provided by TLC. My name is Jameson Reynolds. I'm the Director of Marketing Strategy with the Library Corporation, and thank you very much for attending today's session. We are in the part 3 of our trilogy, if you will, of our mini series within our series focused on voices from the pandemic. Our previous episodes that we've done have focused on rural libraries, and also urban libraries. And now we are focused on K-12 school libraries and everything that's been thrown at them along with everyone else since March of this year. Our session is going to be led by our customer success manager, Melissa Powell. And we're going to be talking with customers of ours as well as one of our fantastic support reps. I do want to let everybody know as we go through this, if you have questions, if you have topics you'd like us to discuss, please do not hesitate to enter those in the chat area. We will come back to those probably towards the end of this session. So if we don't answer it right away, I don't want you to think that we've forgotten about you because we haven't. We will get back as quick as we can. And the other thing I do want to point out is we have a couple of more panelists on this webinar than we typically do, which is probably why you can tell as we're all kind of squished to the top of your screen. I'm going to guess we're at the top of your screen, and they have a big panel from our session. You'll see there's a little bar there in between the webcams and the panel. If you want to pull that down, you can actually make the webcams a little bigger. So just want to throw that tip out for you. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and drop off the call for a couple minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and pass to Melissa. So Melissa, please take it away.
Thanks, Jameson. As Jameson said, I'm the Customer Success Manager here at TLC, but I'm also a librarian. So I really wanted to take the opportunity, especially this year, to promote voices of librarians, both customers and non-customers, because TLC is all about partnering with and supporting the library itself. So today we're concluding, as Jameson said, the first trilogy of the Voices of the Pandemic. We do hope to be doing some more. We are honored to have with us today Debbie Cook, who's the Library Systems Administrator for Chesterfield County Schools in Virginia, Julie Harder, the librarian at Pattonville Heights Middle School, and Allison Stout, librarian at Remington Traditional School in Pattonville as well. And then our very own Mike Sweeney, Schools Tech Support Specialist. Debbie is well known among TLC customers, one of the most knowledgeable in not only the use of our software as it pertains to schools, but as a fabulous resource for school and non-school librarians. Julie and Allison come highly recommended by their boss, who says, I quote, "They bring a wealth of knowledge and passion for library services to our diverse school population." And Mike has worked for TLC in support for many years, and he's the main contact for our largest LS customer, which is the Hawaii Department of Education, for support and training, and he's also our school support specialist. So welcome everyone, and thank you very much for being here. And I forgot to bring up the panel so everybody could see your pretty pictures. See, I got very excited just because everybody was here. So what I want to do is, as I've done in the previous ones, I'm going to ask the same 4 questions just based on the type of school or type of library that you are in. So I want to start out with one myth about school libraries. Basically, what is one myth that you think that other librarians and people believe about school libraries that you would like to debunk? So I'm going to start with Debbie.
Surprisingly, for all the years that I have been in school libraries, I still hear that people think that librarians do nothing except read stories and check out books. It's amazing to me. Libraries have changed so much over the years, but they're learning centers, they're maker spaces, they're community spaces, and the librarians, at least in Virginia, all have to be certified teachers as well. And really the term teacher librarian would be more apt because our teachers collaborate, they work with the teachers, they teach classes themselves. They really are totally involved in the education process.
That's great, yeah. And I almost mentioned that about teacher librarian. I usually try to say that. Julie, what do you have?
Well, I think Deborah really summed it up for us.
Oh, Just as a warning. Oh yeah, there we go.
had a previous coordinator of libraries that always would say, like, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Libraries are more than managing things.
Mhm.
And they definitely, we are called on all the time to meet with teachers. In fact, I was a classroom teacher for years and decided that I wanted to go into library science. And I also call myself a teacher librarian. And I sit down with teachers to plan units, but it's not just to curate their resources. It's to talk about what instructional strategies are really going to be the best suited for this particular lesson. How can we reach our learners? So that's my view.
Wow, thank you. Allison.
So just as Deborah and Julie said, I also agree that the biggest myth about school librarians is that we're not teaching, and that we only deal with the stuff. And a couple years ago, made a huge change and decided to take a librarian's job and divide it into 3. And we have an aide that deals with the stuff, and a PD technology coordinator who deals with the staff, and then me who deals with the students. And I feel like the way that they support and advocate for libraries by carving that role out for me to just deal with students is so profound. And it's really freed me up to focus on what's important, teaching. Although I still help with the staff and the stuff too, but.
I like that. That's great. So Mike, as a non-librarian coming into supporting librarians, especially schools, what's something that you thought about schools that you found out wasn't exactly what you thought?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go right and piggyback off with what Debbie said. For me, since I'm a librarian growing up, one of the biggest things I think well into my adult life, big misconception was that librarians pretty much just did check-in, check-outs, and put books back on the shelf. And it really wasn't until I started working at the Library Corporation that I found out how wrong I truly was, that how much is actually involved that you guys do for the library and for your students. It is crazy, and I tip my hats off to you guys working with you day in and day out for 6 years, how much work is put in and how much effort you guys put in every day to make that library work for the students. And yeah, that changed my mind 6 years ago immensely. That was a big misconception for me.
Good job, everybody. Okay, so now we're going to get to the meat of the discussion, which is the pandemic challenge. We read about it, we hear about it. The schools, we all have children and grandchildren going in and out of school, virtual, non-virtual. For the school library, what's been the biggest challenge and how have you faced it? Allison, I'm gonna start with you.
So even though I just said that my role is pretty much to help students right now, my biggest challenge is the stuff. I feel like getting books to kids and having book access is just getting, I don't know. Some days I feel like I do a great job, and some days I feel like, man, I need to come up with a different system. I'm thrilled. Julie and her middle school teaching partner over at one of our other middle schools came up with a framework for like a curbside service from our school where kids can go into the pack and make requests, and then we pull the books and put them in the lobby so they could come and get them. And I was so thankful that Julie and her partner kind of spearheaded that, and then the elementaries where I am could kind of watch how it's done and then move forward. But I still feel like there's got to be a way to get more books out there.
Spoken like a true librarian. So Julie, what and since you mentioned that you had kind of started a curbside, what other challenges have you faced that you really felt that you needed to deal with for your students?
Well, yeah, definitely that getting books to kids, but I sat down with my English teachers before school started because I'm like, how are we going to teach our research skills? Normally, I spend about 75 to 80% of my days working with classes coming into the library. And I mean, I am there every step of the way on the research process. I teach them to develop research questions. We talk about writing thesis statements, how to use multiple sources, taking notes, deciding if things are credible, and citing those sources. And so we kind of boil it down to first semester, we're really just working on teaching them if a website or if a source is credible or not. So we've been pretty successful with that. But as we're looking forward into second semester, and we're currently model, don't know how long that'll last, but we have some kids all virtual and some kids in school 2 days a week. So next semester, we really have to figure out, and it's a challenge right now, how are we going to make this work where they still get time with me, but because we can't have as large a groups in the library as we normally do. Normally I teach 2 classes at the same time. So I'll have like 50 kids in the library doing the research. So we're really going to have to get creative. And so if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them.
Well, I see another webinar coming up.
Good.
So Debbie.
Well, looking at it from the system administrator standpoint, I think one of the first things last spring was everyone was just panicked when all of a sudden, I mean, literally everybody went home on a Thursday afternoon expecting to come back to school the next day, and schools were closed for 2 weeks and then for the rest of the year. So everybody was saying, well, what about all of those books and things that are out there? And we had 73,000 items checked out that as of that time. So they were concerned about that and trying to deal with what to do with the students. Fortunately, in our county, we have a one-to-one initiative. So the students, if they had remembered to take their Chromebooks home that day, then have them at home with them. And so a lot of last spring was spent getting Chromebooks to those students who didn't have them. They were offering, all publishers and other companies were offering all kinds of resources, which was wonderful, but our librarians were spending a lot of the time trying to help the teachers just who all of a sudden have to teach virtually with no training, you know, so they were doing an awful lot of helping them to technical standpoint, but also how to integrate that into their lessons. We're not the copyright police, but we spent a lot of time talking about how you deal with this. You need to say you're reading this book with permission of the publisher and that kind of thing. And then this summer, all the faculty, all the teachers did an immense amount of professional development to get ready for this fall because we started out totally virtual. And it was a real opportunity for our librarians to take the lead with a lot of this professional development things that went on this past summer. And this fall, we started out totally virtual, and then we went to some students coming back. Special ed kids came back first. 2 weeks later, they started with K through 2 or 3, I can't remember which, and then, you know, 2 weeks later, like that. So our librarians, even though the students are back in the building, they still can't come to the library. Our librarians are having to go into the classrooms to teach those classes, or they're still doing virtual classes because half the students are still full-time virtual. It's very, very confusing. And I think the average lesson has to be taught like 3 times to hit everybody in the class, because some of them are at home, some of them are just there on Monday and Tuesday, some of them are just there on Thursday and Friday. So it really has been hectic, I know, for them.
Wow.
You know, can I say something to what Deborah just said? So like we're teaching the same lesson over and over. She's totally right. I feel like my third group gets a really good lesson, and then the first group they go back together. The second group's okay. The third group is great, and then the fourth group, I'm so over it. It's like, oh, I got.
Yeah, there you go. I feel that way sometimes too as a trainer. So.
Oh, I understand.
So I get it.
I
So
am
Mike,
quite impressed, though,
oh,
with how the librarians are going into the classrooms and taking their book carts and a bookmobile really into the classrooms and working with those students, and then turning around and doing it virtually as best they can and offering curbside for those students who are totally virtual.
wow, yeah. So Mike, what have you seen on our side as far as the challenges for the school libraries and the
Yeah,
scrambling we've had to do?
definitely. Schools did a great job, I think, last spring moving into this year, utilizing the LS2 system. But I several different challenges that I saw coming up and the start of the school year. And one of them, I'll piggyback off of everybody else, is how do we get the library materials to those students, whether it's the physical books for those that are in school or the ebooks, e-resources for those students that are virtual. But I also saw a lot of questions and concerns coming in as to how we manage those books coming in so that we follow those COVID-19 regulations. So how do we quarantine those books that are coming back? Do we quarantine them for 3 days? Do we quarantine them for 7 days? And how do we get the LS2 system to allow us to do that? But I did see a big concern moving, especially into the start of this first semester, with several school districts actually, that maintaining a full-time librarian in the library, because they have to multitask, like you guys said, they are now going in and helping the teachers, which leaves the library essentially unattended and nobody there to help push out those books. But I have seen a lot of curbside workflows. I have seen a lot of deliveries where school districts are utilizing that pack much more than they ever have in the past, which is great. That's really what we'd like to see, is those students get a better handle of what they can do in the LS2 pack, because it does make this type of scenario much more easier for the librarians that are able to handle those requests coming in and utilize those workflows to do either curbside or delivery to the classrooms, just to ensure that we're still able to get those materials to the students. But yes, definitely several different that were a big challenge for the schools, not only last semester of the last school year, but moving into this first semester of the school year as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, so based on, we've heard that there were a lot of changes. First, we were able to really, I think, based on what you guys have said and what I've heard from other libraries, is that in a way the pandemic has put them actually more in the public eye, that look how much value we bring. Look what the school librarians really bring to the table and how we support the schools for that advocacy portion. So looking at everything that has, all the things that you've had to creatively think about and work with and all that, and what you've learned from that, what do you see as the next transformation coming for school libraries from what we've learned from the pandemic? Julie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that now kids know how to access books any place and any time. We use Overdrive for our ebook collections, but even with TLC, our kids, we've always known they could log into their account and place a hold, but our students weren't doing that, and now they are, and that's pretty exciting. But I think that kind of comes with the issue. Well, in fact, for Overdrive, for example, our e-collection, I just ran a report this morning, and between August and today of 2019 compared to August of 2020 and today in 2020, we've seen a 144% increase in our e-resource use. So, that's a great problem to have, but I do think kids are going to, some people are like, well, they're just doing this now because they can't use actual books. But I think kids are adapting and changing, and I think we're going to continue to see this increased use. So I think we need to start putting more of our budget toward electronic resources. Back in 2012, we met as a district librarian group and decided we would spend, in grades 6 through 12, we'd spend 10% of our budget on e-resources. And the next year we were supposed to go up to 15%. Well, we really have missed that mark, and now it's blaringly obvious. So I think Allison can attest that the elementary librarians are starting to work on that, as well as middle school, just to really build up and make that collection more robust. So I'm excited about that transformation for us.
Great. So Allison, on that, what do you see, especially at the elementary school level?
Well, I feel like one of the things that is being transformed is the amount of teaching I'm doing right now to prepare students to use apps and digital resources independently, and then helping teachers see how they can use those apps in their toolbox, like adding more things to their toolbox so that instruction stays interesting and exciting. So I feel like that's one of the things that's been transformative, is just trying to get kids to use apps creatively and effectively independently.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple digital. So Debbie, what do you say?
I agree with what Julie and Allison have said. Certainly the ebook, that platform has it's just exploded. When we left in March last year, of course, librarians still had money to spend. They had to get their orders in. If we don't spend it, we lose it. So we were really emphasizing, and we had many, many more ebook orders from everybody, and orders from librarians who hadn't done much with it before. So I think this has pushed those librarians to offer ebooks. It's pushing the students to use them. I also think that virtual lessons, virtual meetings, we now have become comfortable with Zoom and Google Meet and these other forms. I really think that this is probably going to hang around and just become the norm. Not that I want lessons to always be taught that way, but it's another avenue. And if we have a lesson on a Google Meet or Zoom that can be recorded and saved and shown again, then that's a help for the student who missed it, or a teacher who wants to critique it, and so she can see if her lesson needs some tweaking.
Great. So it really sounds like a real digital transformation. So Mike, what are you seeing?
Yeah, if we were playing categories, we'd be getting no points because I pretty much have the same answer as everybody. That's pretty much what I see as a transformation moving forward, is a real increase in a still utilizing those e-resources and those external databases, those external resources within the pack, without the pack. I see that sticking with us for quite some time now that students have gotten the feel of LS2 pack and what they can do within it. I think librarians are now understanding that they can actually customize their landing page in the LS2 pack as well to empower the students to get to the LS2 pack and get into it and start utilizing it. So I agree. External resources, those ebooks, those e-resources are going to be a huge transformation that'll stick for a little while. Absolutely.
Perfect. So yeah, it looks like digital transformation for the future of education. All right, now here's an easy one. Maybe it's hard though, because there's so many things. I'm going to say, what is great about school libraries? And Mike, I'm going to actually start with you on this because you've not gone first yet.
Absolutely. For me, I think for promoting really would just be the LS2 pack. I think during this time, that LS2 pack has become a very useful tool and a key tool for allowing the librarians to keep the movement in the library and those circulations going, whether it's a physical book or an ebook. But for me, I find that the LS2 pack can actually empower the students to get into the LS2 pack, sign in, see what's available for them. Because I have 3 kids, and you put them a device of any kind in front of them, and it's fun for them. They're going to want to keep coming back. So for me, absolutely, promoting the LS2 pack would be huge. And we do that every time that I train. I promote the LS2 pack. I try to empower the librarians or who that I'm teaching so that they can turn around and empower the students as well to utilize that LS2 pack to its fullest potential.
Perfect. So Allison.
I love that that you just said empower the students, because you would not believe, like, we've used the LS2 pack, but this is the first year that we've like taught them how to really sign in and make their own requests and stuff. And you just wouldn't believe how excited they get that they're like, wait, I get to do this by myself. I don't have to write it on a Post-it and give it to you and wait for you to do it. But it is empowering. And after Thanksgiving break, the elementary librarians have decided that we're going to focus on LS2 kids, K-5. We usually focus on that for like K-2, but we're going to focus on that K-5 so that because of the ease of browsing, the
Yeah.
the different icons that they can, instead of like needing to know what they want before they come and search, that they could use the kids version to help them browse. So you're right on with that. But I think what's great about school libraries is how we get to build a community around books and reading. And at my school, we've started like a K-8 picture book reading program where we all read the same picture book every day. K-8. It's called Classroom Book a Day. It's designed by Jillian Hyacey, and it's meant for. I mean, it's so exciting. It's imagine like you got 180 days to read a book, and you get to read one every single day. And so we've decided to build our community from K-8, all reading the same picture books, and just the conversations that it brings up, and I don't know, it just feels like a family because we have this shared experience.
I like that. Wow, that's great. Debbie.
Well, I was thinking about what's great about school libraries in a general sense. And we really are essential to that child's education. Librarians reach every child in a school. And the only other people who do that are the guidance counselors in this administration. And in many cases, a child has the same librarian for 5, 6, 8 years. So that relationship that develops there can just be so special. If you think back yourself to your own school days, a librarian may have been the one who turned you on to reading or maybe helped you at a time, because in most cases, the libraries are also safe spaces. I used to think when I was in the library, I was so happy to be there because I was about the only person who was not grading that child when they walked in the door. So they could say to me what they wanted to say without either trying to snow me for a good grade or be worried about that. So it was a real special relationship.
So Julie.
So Allison was kind of talking about building that community of readers in her school, and she and I and the other middle school librarian collaborate on a project that really builds community of readers. We sponsor as a school district the St. Louis area-wide middle school book battle every year, and we have teams from 42 schools that come to our building, and we compete in a trivia style competition with a list of 20 books. And it's a really exciting time for students to not only be with readers in their own building, but look at all these readers that are around me that are the same age as me, and that's so exciting. But I think we also work on building communities of thinkers and communities that are responsible citizens. So we've kind of tried to follow the current trends in school libraries. In our district, we have all gone to flexible seating. We had a great bond issue that was passed, and they focused a lot of money in our libraries. So we have those places for kids to come in and collaborate, and teachers, I have the whiteboard tables that kids can write on, and teachers can do lessons. And I've done the breakout room thing with my 7th grade library orientation. It gets them thinking and moving around the library to find things to solve the mystery. We also do maker spaces where kids can come in and do more than just read in the library. They can develop those STEAM kind of skills. But really, the most current trend that we're following right now is that push for diversity in our
Oop, I think we lost Julie. Oh no, and I know she's saying some great stuff too. Yeah.
About how librarians and libraries
call.
Oh, there she goes. Sorry, Julie, we lost you.
On
we
diversity.
Lost you for that wonderful speech on diversity.
Okay, so did you hear any of it?
Just the first sentence.
Okay. So yes, I'm sorry, we have a lot of things going for us in Pattonville, but right now the technology is not in our favor. So yeah, it's been exciting that we have been able to work toward creating more diverse collections. Pattonville School District is the most diverse district in the whole state of Missouri, and we are trying to see all of the diversity that we have and represent that, but we also understand that we need to be representing even more than that, because our country and our world is even more diverse than that. So it's exciting for us that publishers are creating, publishing more, hiring authors that are making these more diverse titles for us to purchase and show that to our students. I think that is so important.
Wow.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Yeah, I got that. That's why we wanted you to repeat it, because we knew it was good.
Okay, thanks.
Well, this is great. I mean, this is extremely enthusiastic, and just, you know, makes me feel good for my grandkids that there's people like you guys in the schools that are affecting, not infecting, but affecting their lives. Well, on that, we've gotten to the end of the questions I picked. So we'll see if we've gotten some questions from the audience.
This was a very good session, y'all. Thank you very much for the feedback and everything you provided us. I will say, everyone that is on this webinar, there is a quick poll on your screen. So if you wouldn't mind taking a quick second and answering the question, how would you describe the area where your school is located? Large city, suburban, or small city, rural? And we did have a question. We actually had a couple of questions come in. So let me go ahead and start with the first one that I'm seeing here. And for the panel, how much of your strategy going forward will be more from a digital angle, more databases, not just more ebooks?
Who would like to? Yeah.
Well, I can address some of that. We have, we have an RFP and we get databases on a 5-year rotation. But I think that they're going to be utilized more. And I think that probably with the next round of purchasing, we'll probably be purchasing more. I can understand how databases are so essential at this point. And useful not only for the value of you can't get into the library to use the reference books, so you need to use the database, but they're just better because they can be updated a whole lot more quickly and that sort of thing.
Julie or Allison, either one have a comment on that?
We've turned a lot to using online encyclopedias and making sure that the students have the skills to be able to do their research, like I said earlier, to do everything independently. And so we've spent quite a bit of time this fall making sure that kids have the access and the knowledge to be able to use them. And then I know Julie, she does a lot with databases.
Mm-hmm.
I think she may.
Okay.
All right.
I was to say, I'm afraid I'm going to cut off Julie, and I'm going to be rude, and that's not my intention. So I'm going to go ahead and just go into my next question. I will say, earlier in the conversation, when you all were talking about the ebook integration and working with that, you know, as a representative of TLC, we're always really excited to see the utilization, especially with the type of overdrive integration that you all are using. The fact that you can get that right from the catalog is always a piece of work that we did that we're always excited about. And I know, at least with a lot of school districts are not just school districts, but public. We even had this in the other conversations, talking about the expansion of ebooks and access to ebooks as just a norm now. And I wasn't sure if any of you all were in a one device school district, but I've also picked up on a lot of the school districts that are now providing Chromebooks or laptops or tablets to their students are now utilizing the ebooks even more because of that, because it's just part of the curriculum now. But sorry if I started rambling there. I didn't want to cut anybody off. Our next question we had is, what type of collaboration did you all have with your local public libraries prior to the pandemic? And do you see that changing either now or post-pandemic?
Ooh.
We've always had a very good relationship with our public libraries and worked closely with them on a lot of projects, certainly summer reading, but I mean, other things as well. They, in a sense, of course, they were able to open up with curbside and stuff like that in the spring before we were allowed to. So that certainly helped to kind of bridge the gap until we could start doing curbside and start getting books into kids' hands. But I would see that our relationship with the public library is just simply going to continue to grow. It just kind of forced us at this point to do even more. We were doing a lot, it's going to do more, and I think it'll continue.
And see, Allison, you were nodding a lot to that. What is your take on that?
I feel okay. So in St. Louis County, where Julie and I are from, we have a reciprocal library relationship with St. Louis City Library, St. Louis County Library, and St. Charles County Library, the three big systems in the area. And I feel like the public libraries are coming to my rescue every single day with resources, either online book, ebooks, or with physical books that we need in the classroom. So I'm just really thankful that that we have such a strong public library system in St. Louis, so that they can help us out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As part of my library orientations that I gave to all the students through Zoom, which I gave like 25 times, I talked about our St. Louis County libraries that Allison was speaking of are currently offering free tutoring 7 days a week, 10 in the morning to 10 at night for any families. And so I was kind of promoting, you need to get a library card, you need to use these resources. And so the excitement, I was able to share that on social media, on Facebook with the parents and the families. And I think that's a great opportunity that, they might not have known about if it wouldn't be, they talk to us and we talk to them. So it's a good relationship.
Can I add too that we also have a lot of independent bookstores in the St. Louis area that have reached out to the school. They are, they set up, you're not gonna believe this, they set up an author visit for my school with Henry Winkler, Fonzie. So we got to meet Fonzie and he was wonderful. And that wouldn't have happened if the Novel Neighbor, our local independent bookstore, hadn't reached out and made a relationship with us. So not just the libraries, independent bookstores too.
Yeah,
everybody's helping each other out.
Sounds like a real community effort. I think that the pandemic has done that in many cases, is created that community. I think Mike and Jameson could attest to the fact that even at TLC, I think we feel just because we're seeing each other's faces that we don't always see each other if you're in the building, but when you're on a screen, you're seeing each other. So it's like building this more camaraderie. So.
Allison, I will tell you, at ALA in DC, I got in an elevator and stuck in an elevator with Henry Winkler, and he is an incredibly nice person. That's so cool. You got to. So we have a shared Henry Winkler sighting story. That's awesome. That's great. Next question we have: are there any changes that you've had to implement because of where we are now that you expect to remain post-pandemic?
One thing that we had, the librarians in each school can set their own circulation rules. I push the buttons, but if they want to have books, allow only 2 books for 1 week, then that's what they get. But the pandemic has forced them to allow more books for longer time. And I have a feeling that that's going to hang around because this is what the students and teachers are now getting used to, which I'm thrilled about. And I had the majority of the librarians had not been using the pack for holds, and now everybody is. So I'm sure that will hang around because once you give it that to the students, they're not going to want to not have it.
Yeah, I used to say, if anything's red on their account, they can't check anything else out. And when I was having somebody cover for me right now, I'm like, don't worry about it. Just let them have it.
That's true.
So Mike, I know we've talked about some things that we think will probably stick around. It sounds like the holds, because we've been talking a lot about how much holds are getting used now.
How many as you want?
Yeah, I think the holds is going to be around for a little bit longer now that everyone's getting used to utilizing the LS2 pack and using that request feature, that hold feature. I think holds are going to stick around for a little bit longer,
Oh yeah, I think
quite a
that's,
while.
yeah, I think that now that the kids know what they can do and the access that they have, they're like, wow, if I just push this little button, I'm gonna get this book. This is so cool. Yeah. So
I will say it was nice to hear the anticipation of expanding the use of LS2 kids beyond
yeah.
K2, like more like towards K5. I understand that we had developed it more towards a younger audience, but when you start to think about the work that we did with the series and the
Yeah.
series searching and the laying of all that out, there's a lot of middle school, mid school age series that are in there that would be of value to those kids. So that's good to hear. That was good to hear.
Yeah.
And we are up to our last question. Any words of wisdom for other school libraries?
Cool. Who wins?
Always remember you're here for the kids, and it's about them, and it's about creating thinkers and learners and readers of the future.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to try something. It seemed like for a while we were changing the rules reinventing the wheel every week or so until we found what worked. But I think we have to do that. Be flexible. Just be flexible.
Allison?
Let them check out all the books. Let them check out anything they want. Let them. Don't save them. Just let them have the books.
Okay, I kind of had a feeling that's what you were going to say. So Mike, from your perspective on the other side of the computer, what's your advice for school librarians?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say don't wait till you get to the point of frustration with the LS2 software. Please reach out to us at any point in time. That's what we're here for. Whether it's just a simple question or a more intricate question regarding workflows, please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're actually anticipating you guys reaching out to us, and we enjoy doing that so that we can walk you guys through and help you step by step to get your LS2 packs up, for instance, and customize the words. So absolutely, just reach out to us. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I would share as well, is that for having been on both sides of the table, and it sounds like most people are doing it on this webinar, but reach out to anybody to get help. You don't have to do it all yourself. And I think that's a hard thing for us to remember, because we're trying to be everything to everybody because that's who we are. And so I think it's great. Is that our last question, Jameson?
Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do appreciate this. The team at TLC really does appreciate you all taking part in this and being on the panel. So everyone, thank you very much. For our attendees out there, thank you very much for attending. We are wrapping up our trilogy of sessions, if you will. I'm sorry, we had a meeting earlier today where someone referred to this as our trilogy, and now that's been stuck in my head. And I think we'll just market this episode. Yeah, we'll just market this as episodes 4 through 6, and then in the spring we'll do episodes 1, 2, 3, and call it a prequel, and see if we can get any traction that way. But really, in all seriousness, thank you all very much for attending this. I will say we are taking a break next week because of the holiday, and then the first week of December we will be back with your regularly scheduled type of webinar Wednesday. Our first one that we will be launching is a webinar we are doing. We are partnering with TechLogic. We are talking about their CertTrack inventory RFID scanner, and also the work that we did with Library Dot Solution 5.6 that is fully integrated, that you can actually use your RFID inventory wand and it goes directly into the ILS, and we'll show you how that works. So you can kind of break the mold of what is traditional inventory or shelf management. So that's in December, and we will have that up ready for you to register, and you can see on your screen tlcdelivers.com/webinars, where you can go to register, as well as find the recording of this and all of our other sessions. Thank you all very much. Please stay safe, stay healthy, stay distant, do everything you can, and please mask up. It does make a difference. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.